Psychotechnologies.
Woo.
This week we've got a very, very special episode. Eliot has just been on retreat, and we've been talking for about 2 minutes before this stream. So all I know is that he's been on retreat. He was like trying to tell me something, but it all came out all at once and gibberish and so much. So now we're gonna do like the post-retreat. Like he had some crazy experiences or something. I don't actually know what happened, but obviously something went down. Something interesting happened, and now we're going to try to figure out what it is and do the connection back to the reality. So it's like something like aftercare, or from the transcendent to the mundane.
Right. Okay. So basic formula: 12 people in a room. We had a teacher. I wasn't in charge. 12 people plus teacher in a room for 6 days, or it's a bit under 6 days because we started in the afternoon and ended in like lunchtime. But 12 people in a room. Imagine having a conversation for 12 days long.
Wow, that sounds either terrible or amazing.
Well, it's like you get sick of people. I got sick of people, and like it's better to talk about that than hold it in, because if you hold it in, it just stinks. And so there are people cutting each other off, and then like being frustrated in front of each other, and then talking about that frustration, and then trying to work with it and be with it. And there were a couple of exercises and practices and tools that went with the things that we were finding were coming up for us. But, it's not about those exercises. The exercises are the content journey of the retreat. But really, the real content is the stuff inside you. Like you're on a retreat, you're like, oh, I know, I'm going to be nice to everyone. And then you're being nice to everyone, and they can tell you're fake. And you're like, oh shit, my plan of let's be nice to everyone is like my veil, my like, I'm a good guy. It starts like wearing thin.
My nice person mask.
Right. And like, they can tell if I'm being nice when I'm not actually feeling nice, and like, it's really interesting because at the beginning, it's not like I intended to be fake all the time, but they could tell rapidly that like the information becomes clearer and clearer to people, and they become more courageous in saying, hey, I saw that was fake, by like as the retreat goes on. Like in the first place, you're like, haha, I'll just be nice, and then I'll be nice here anyway, even though that's like pretend nice, and this was real nice. And then like everyone could tell I was being pretend nice, and then they were like, stop that.
That probably annoyed people. I hate when people pretend to be nice.
At the first layer, it's like, oh, I just shouldn't be nice to people. Wait a second. No, I can't throw away all niceness, because if I throw away all niceness, then I'm responding to this negative criticism, and I'm destroying a part of me that wants to be nice. Right? So I have to like, it's not be nice, and it's not don't be nice. It's something else.
It's a third, more complex thing.
Right. So totally. I've been on Twitter for like a month or so, and that line comes up so often that it's not the first thing. It's not the first thing. It's the mysterious third other or something or other. And I was thinking, this is silly. Like, what is this like stupid mysterious third thing? And like, it felt like Twitter has this quality of being funny to me. I guess I'm in like a perfect bubble of Twitter where it's just weird people who talk strange therapeutic stuff. And so I'm like, oh, this is good. And then there's this, and it's been letting me like make jokes and be silly and post the mysterious third way. And it feels, I didn't realize this was happening, but by the end of the retreat, the mysterious third way, I can point to it more than I could before. I'm like, no. It's not just some joke that the mysterious third way. It's actually a really clear instruction to me. Go for the mysterious third way. Yeah.
What's that like?
It's still hard. It's still like, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember it. Kind of like the mysterious third way is still I'm like, oh, I remember there's a mysterious third way. How do I do that? Hard. Don't know how. Confusion. And then I like have to be like, okay, I back myself into a corner here. Let's reverse out and find the actual mysterious third way.
Right. It's not.
That's what it's like right now.
It's not the fourth pretend third way. It's the actual third way.
Yeah. Well, but the interesting thing about the pretend third way is that it's at least it's a way. So if one way is like try really hard at the thing, and two way is give up at the thing, three way like crack jokes and do something different around the thing, is at least a different way. It may not be the middle way and the third way or the better way, but it's at least some other option. And so somehow the humorous, jokey option is super valuable for reminding me that there's going to be a third way somewhere, and might as well just crack a joke and like break the tension. And like here I am between like trying really hard to find the third way and not trying at all, and between the two is like this humorous thing, which is like, oh, okay, there's a humorous thing there, and then I need to play with that, and then like the real third way will kind of make itself known a little bit, or like sometimes, and then I have to work on it. I just have to now keep working on something.
Something that you can't quite put your finger on, but it will mysteriously appear. But if you work too hard, then it will suffocate.
Right.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Right, but then living it is like, oh, okay, Daniel just gave a description, right? And I'm like we're talking about the map of try too hard and not try hard enough, right? And you described this map of try too hard, not, and the mysterious third way has moved out of this map into the like, was Daniel's description good enough? So we're not in that, we're in the like really good description and really bad description, right?
No.
And so if I say like, yes, you were at the really good end, then like, that's not it. It actually has to be like, oh, kind of. Like,
no, I wasn't describing to it. I wasn't describing, I was pointing to it. There's a difference.
Right. So
it's creative. Like, how does this relate to creativity? Like, creativity.
Because there's an element of creativity of like doing a thing or getting a thing right. That is, I mean, I'm still in relationship with it. The like, oh, I'm gonna go do the like this, the end of the polarity on creativity, and then I'm like, oh, this is really hard to do, like this isn't good, and then I'm like, oh, I want to like not give up, but like over here-ish, so that my experience is kind of going through that middle without trying too hard. Because if I'm trying too hard, then I'm like either a try hard or I'm like putting in way too much effort. It's like some like, bleh.
I think you're overthinking this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Because I just found
you don't need to know how to do it. You just need to do
it. Right. And also, no, there is a know how to do it at the same time.
There is a
know how to do it. There is a way to do it.
Well, there is a way to do it, but it doesn't mean that there's a know how to do it. For me, the thing you're talking about is like creativity, like per se, where like be creative. Well, how should you be creative? Okay, here, follow these steps. Like that doesn't make sense, right? Aside from like step 1, be creative. Step 2, don't be not creative. Which doesn't really help you. Because like, you can't put creativity in a box. Like you're trying to know things is to put it into a box,
right?
And you can't put
this one.
You can't put out the out of box thinking inside a box, or else it's not out of box thinking.
Right.
It's just a different box thinking.
Right. So
and we're still doing post-retreat integration.
Right. This is true. I'm in some weird integration space. So I'm like, I lied around yesterday, being all like, I have no idea what's like. People are gonna ask me, and I'm gonna have to say, "What is that?" Like, give some words, or some vague description of experience. And I really want to share retreat, right? I really want to tell people what it was like, but that involves performatively, experientially demonstrating the middle way, and then of course not too well, because if I do it too well, then I'm at the polarity. There's like a okay, it's kind of like here.
Well, maybe like for me, post retreats, I like to just embody my learnings, and so that way, like as much of the experience can just come into real life. And
for sure, except that I don't know how to embody, I think, or I'm working on that.
But does your body know how? Can your body do it? I think is more the question. Like, can you just pretend you're still on the retreat, or like still be on the retreat?
Well, I kind of am, and then I'm sort of constantly hitting the brick wall on one side. Like I'm constantly hitting the polarities, even though I know there's the third way. I'm constantly hitting the polarities.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that like hitting of the polarities itself is a meta way?
No, I think that's the polarities too much like a brick wall, and then I'm stuck. And so, like, how many places in your mental experience is there a solid object? like a solid construct, like I'm trying to think of something right now, and trying to think of something is up this end of the polarity between not trying to think of something and trying to think of something.
And so, like, don't try to think of something, just think of something.
Right. Like trying is too much, and not trying is not enough. And like, oh, here's another solid object of like trying to think of something. And that's like, okay, that's like, I need to, okay. So within me playing with it involves me kind of like lying around in bed and like relaxing into like half dream state, because I'm trying to because I'm dreaming. Or if I'm lying around and like half dreaming, then I'm playing with my thoughts. I'm like, oh, I can see I'm trying to do, okay, so stop trying to do, and like, oh, that was lost it, because now I'm like, I found something and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'm not trying anymore, but I'm like interesting it. Like I'm making it interesting. And then interesting is a new polarity at the end here. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there's also the, if it's too interesting, then it's like, I have this dimension of like importance. If things are important, they're kind of like a big deal, right? And then if they're too big a deal, then they are, then they're like too hot, and then they're scary, and then they're like everything that goes wrong with things that are too big a deal happens all at once. But it's not in the like in the physical space where, you know, I'm getting a big award, and so I need to like feel like this is important and like go on stage or something. Like it's not in that space, it's in the mental space where, oh, I'm just thinking about what's important, and then it's hitting me like a ton of bricks, and so I need to like think near to what's important and let it hit me slowly.
Like it's very raw and intense to think about what's important.
Yeah, right.
And so it's like too much for you to handle all at once.
Right. And I recognize not just it's too much for me in this moment, but there's a human universal of questions that are too much. And or like trying to go for the thing that's too much, that like just completely overwhelms me.
Right. It's like a low level employee, like if they find themselves like in charge of the company.
Right.
This is too much. I can't handle this.
Right. Or like, I mean, another metaphor is like trying to talk to God or talk to the queen or king. You're like, you like, oh, I could probably just talk to him. And then you walk in the room and your body starts to be like, oh no, this is a big deal. And you take another step and you're like, oh, this is a really big deal. You take another step and you're like, I'm gonna meet the king. Like, that
happens to me with when I talk to customers sometimes.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh my God, this guy is gonna make a decision if he wants to do business or not.
Right. And then that's debilitating to like imagine them important, or like this interaction is a big deal, and suddenly I'm useless and I can't do anything because
Yeah.
I've gone down a dead end street that is the big deal. And so I need to kind of like reverse out the dead end street and treat them like a person. And then I can actually interact with them. And the fact that they're a customer doesn't hit me so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, this such is a universal. And so like I'm usually think of this with people like, you know, asking someone out on a date or public speaking. And then for you, it's like currently it's like much more existential.
Right. And it's like a subtle relationship. So by that I mean it's my difficulties are no longer in most of the physical experience of my life, right? I can go for a walk, I can cook food, I can do all these simple things, I can drive a car. But if it's the like something being the quality of important is a subtle experience. It's a mental experience. There may be a physical landscape, but it's really a lot more in the subtle landscape that I'm putting the label important on something.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a battle. Well, I don't know about battle, but I'm in an experience in my subtle landscape. And see, even like battle is too far on the polarity, right? So I'm like, I'm not in a battle because that makes it solid. I'm in like an experience in my subtle landscape of navigating around other bits of my subtle landscape in order to work out where I'm going.
Interesting. So you're like inside your own psyche, moving around and like looking at the things, looking at like first you look at that tag that says, hey, this is the thing that says things are important. And then you're like trying to maneuver around that to observe it in a way that's I guess that has the tag that says this is the way to look at it.
Right. So there's something like an appropriate distance. Something can be important, well, this is the other thing, right? So one end is important, the other end is not important. And if something is too not important, I should start to get frustrated and annoyed and like get mad at it because I shouldn't be doing things too unimportant. Like that's fair on that end. And in this end,
I don't know what you mean by should. Okay. If that's your experience.
Yeah. Like I want my emotions to tell me like, hey, this is too unimportant. Like, don't do it. Like you don't have to do stupid things.
Right? Oh, for me, if it's unimportant, I want to just not have it show up in my experience.
Right. Yeah. So like there's on both sides of the polarity are like the terrible thing that I don't want to be doing. Too important and too unimportant. And so
right, you don't want to get like you don't want to be like paying attention to like paying literally like giving your attention to things that are unimportant, and at the same time you don't want to be like staring dead on at the thing that's super important because you're gonna get like,
so like an experience of like OCD, right? Like the papers aren't quite lined up and it bothers me and I have to like that this is so unimportant, but it still bothers me even though like let's try and like make sure that they're like square.
Right. I'd rather it filter and then it just not show up for me.
Right. I'd rather let that go. And there's some part of my mind that is grabbing and making it important. And I'm like, no. We need to really let that go. So there's a skill there of knowing to like somehow gently massaging my psyche to get to a better place in it.
Okay. I hear that. It's a little discombobulated, but I like that's.
I tried to warn you, this would be nuts.
Right. We're still on the this. Right. I got pulled into the like existentialness and lost track of the usness. Right,
but that's what kind of there's a quality of retreat that does that. It pulled me into not just the existentialness, but my existentialness and my battle with my little subtle universe, or my experience with my subtle universe. We want to get rid of the battle because the battle makes it like too rigid. Right? My experience with my subtle universe of trying to be with it.
It's totally not a battle, but the word battle keeps showing up. Yeah.
Right. and every time I say battle, I'm like, I'm frustrated with the battle. And like, oh, I'm frustrated, and now I'm like angry at it, and then all of this other bullshit about being angry at it is like too distracting.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if like that's how people who are like in battle feel. I don't know, maybe that's bad
Like
direction.
in literal battle?
Yeah, like they don't want to be fighting. Like I don't think anyone really wants to be fighting, but they also don't want to die,
Right.
and they also want their geopolitical goals to happen.
Right. So I mean that's a flip, right? So here I am. There's a part of me that is tagging things as or me. There's me going around saying what's important, and then later, like seconds later, me going around saying like um important like is kind of the wrong way to do it, right? So like yeah, the thing there's something there.
Yeah.
Like what oh I'm like screwing myself up. Like on the one hand I do want to know what's important, and on the other hand I'm like
Yeah.
how do I navigate this like not too important, because then I get thrown off
have
thing.
you have you figured out how important this journey is?
Right, and it's things like that, right? I'll be like, here I am navigating my like important journey. Wait a second, my
Is
important
this journey even
thing,
important?
right? Well, it's like biting my ass while I'm like trying to work it out.
Mhm.
It backed itself into a corner.
And is important the most important thing?
Well, like kind of, or
Dude, I
maybe
love
it's
this
important
shit.
for a bit of time, and then if I'm like trying too hard at it and stuck on it, then I need to make it not important.
Right. This
It's a like frustratingly a dynamic relationship with a dynamic relationship object.
right. There's an importance to importance.
Yeah.
And
Because obviously, if things are too important and then I feel too overwhelmed by them, I did get none of them done. And so it doesn't work to treat them as important sometimes.
mhm. But yeah. I mean, I was still looking at the journey, like you're going through this journey, like you're bouncing around inside your psyche,
Mm.
doing all this stuff. Like to me, I would describe that almost like your observant self is trying to observe the psyche in uh in something
Mm. Right.
like
And the same way that I can
right
do it
thinking, right
inside my
feeling.
psyche is the way that I'm going to be able to do it in the external world, or not do it
um
in the external world.
like the way you treat yourself is the way your psyche's going to treat the outside world. They're going to treat your like body
Right.
or yourself, and then that's the way that's going to treat the outside world.
Mm.
Yeah, that's like the Jacob's ladder, like the connection from the spirit realm to the uh, physical
Concrete
world.
world, physical world. Yeah. Say more. What's the
Yeah,
ladder?
well, it's
Describe it.
like this is the stack, right? Like this is the metaphysical stack where we're like let's say enlightenment is like the pure observer self um observing and and I think a lot of the people who aren't on the journey or haven't like seen the journey properly, they get very like, oh, this is esoteric, has nothing connection to reality, there's just like is all that's real is the physical world or whatever. And there is truth to that, like all that is real is the physical world, but also all that's real is the experiential world, and also all that's real is your psychology, and also all that's real is your body, and also that's all that's real is experience, and all that's real is just existence without form or function.
Mm.
And all these realms are real, but there is also like they also coexist, right?
Right.
And so like
And
that's
map, like kind of map to each other sometimes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
exactly that my internal psyche is my external, but there's a definitely some kind of relationship going on.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's like the subtle, like the pre, like for me the way I do it is like it's like the pre, it's like the beginnings of the waves. So like the experiential is like the most subtle, and but it's like the beginning of, even like the observations almost is, it's the beginning of where everything starts from. It's the most upstream. And so it's, in a way, it's the least, I don't want to say it's the least powerful, but it's the least um like, it's like the difference with like if reality is getting hit in the face with a rock, the subtleties is like these things are subtle of like, what do I want from life, which is like what do you want is almost nothing, right? Like that's, it's like this wisp of nothingness, but it's not quite nothing. Like it's, there still is something, and like that affects your whole life over time, and like in a very real way, that is a lot more powerful than, like, you working towards your goal is more powerful than getting hit in the face with a rock,
Mm.
because people will recover from that. Six and stones will break my bones, right? But they're not going to stop me. And I think that, like,
They're
that's
not
what's
going to
really,
cut off a will unless we kill
right,
them.
right, right. And like death is death.
Mhm.
That kind of trumps everything, I think. But even not in a lot of ways, right? Like will can get past, and martyrs and things like that. Like that stuff is, there is some level of transcendence there.
Mm.
And I think this is the thing that you're going through right now. Like this is you bouncing around your psyche, to look at the thing, to look at your psyche in the way you want to look at it. It's like I don't know. I always have this voice in my head that I feel like I have to defend. Like, is this stuff real? Um, and I
I'd
think
say
the
more
six.
real than physical in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it's different
Different something.
real.
Different real. Right.
Yeah,
I do think our language kind of breaks down around the concept of real,
yeah,
because like,
yeah.
what's the difference between a chair and a real chair?
Yeah, well, yeah, like that's not a real chair. That's not a real this. It's like,
Right. So, but there's something weird where a real chair actually points to my platonically ideal chair, which is my imagined chair. Whereas
okay,
a
what's that?
chair points to the physical chair.
Um, Whatever. This is language, I think.
Well, it is, but it's also, there's a fairly solidly feeling subtle
Okay,
experience of
share
like,
with us this. Share with us this.
right. So if I'm like, that's not a real chair, it's only a stool.
Oh yeah.
I'm like comparing it to this construct. So if we hold that construct of real chair, right? Like, where is that real chair? Well, that one only exists in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
Right, like all this stuff we're talking about is not real in the sense that, like, we're just talking about like generic, like a chair
well, it's a
that's,
platonic ideal. Like Plato was like, there's a
yeah.
perfect triangle, right? That's his shtick. Like perfect triangle, perfect circle, perfect square. But then you try and draw a triangle in real life, and you only get in like you try and draw a triangle on the ground, right? Let's take the word real out. You try and draw a triangle on the ground, and you only get pretty close
Right.
because we're limited on the ground by the tools that we can use to cut through reality. Whereas in the imaginary plane on a whiteboard, we say, pretend that this triangle's corners are perfectly touching. And if we had the imaginary triangle that had these angles, we can then work out a whole bunch of other math around the other angles.
Okay, I gotta interject here. How meaningful, how important is this idea right now?
Uh,
Is
uh,
this you oscillating?
well, yes, and also I don't know. Or if I try and apply the filter, is this important? Then I might actually destroy what is important by like, oh, it's too important, or like, oh, it's unimportant. Like applying that judgment call over it could harm the landscape.
Okay.
And
Can
so I'm
you?
better in the like, I don't know if it's important or not. I'm just riffing about it.
Okay, okay. I'm feeling. So like the riff. Okay, so the answer is like I don't know or I don't want to look at it right now because it will damage it. And so we're
Yeah.
just riffing and like feeling it almost, I guess.
Well, to the extent that the riff is me finding the middle way, as opposed to like squeezing important and like grappling for it. Like the riff
Okay.
is more real than the important.
Interesting.
Right.
Interesting. So the riffing of the real is more of importance is more important than importance itself.
Right.
Because without it, you're not
Hey,
generating
kind of,
importance. So it has to be, right?
I guess, sort of like, I wish I could just say, yes, that's exactly it. But as soon as I say, yes, that's exactly it, then I've created a construct that's too solid. And then I've lost
Okay.
the magical third way.
Okay, riffing off of that, I'm gonna say that you can't say no. So it's not necessarily a yes, but it's definitely not a no.
Like energetically, the quality of yes and no are too solid. Yes, I would agree that at the same time as there needs to be a place to be able to say no, and also
No, I don't mean in life. I mean
right.
this thing you just said.
Well, energetically, like anytime you say the word yes or no, there needs to be some ability to affirm things or deny things at the same time as like energetically they're too solid and they create like damage in the universe because we have like something we can that's too solid to push against. So let me take a different path. So on retreat, I was doing my usual like this language games that I'm playing right now by accident are like this is how I often talk, or this is like sort of how I explore my experience. But I was talking to someone in that container and they were trying to point me to describe more of my experience, and I was working with it and playing with it, and then they said something like, oh, I didn't realize that your language games are a strategy to get appropriate distance to the phenomena. And I was like, yeah, it's not just that they are getting appropriate distance to the phenomena, but they are a map. They are uniquely, as I use language in a particular way, I'm very nuanced, and my complexity, my like, not too important, not too unimportant, my like is a map to the struggle that I'm having in my experience. It's not just I'm a smart guy who's trying to use smart words in order to bamboozle you. It's like, no, my language is very, very, very deliberate to show you where I'm at.
You're like, it's an orientation device. It's like a sextant, not a sextant. It's like
well, it's like a key. It's a key to my experience. And how I describe it. Like I'm over here trying to be like, that's the thing, but it's not. But if I was like, that's the thing, then it's important. And so I have to be like, that's kind of the thing. And then like being kind of the thing might frustrate me. And so I'll be like, I think I can point to it. It's kind of the thing. And then I have these convoluted sentences with all these halves just to try and point to the object that I'm pointing to.
I'm listening to you now as a person speaking words versus like before I was like listening to your words. Now I'm like listening to you as a person sort of crudely using these words to
as an expression, right?
To like navigate, but not just an expression. It's not an expression, it's like to navigate. Like you're using the actual words to like, oh, I use this word and then I move this direction. I use that word and I move that direction. It's like if you're playing a computer game that instead of using keyboard input, it used language input, and then talking to you. And then, so like I'm having this conversation, but you're also like, we're having this conversation and we're doing the podcast, but you're also playing this other game at the same time. And so then it makes the like it makes that language it makes
These are my controls. These are my like, can I invite Daniel to a particular experience?
Right.
If my words are like a magic spell. Yeah. Right.
Oh, dude, this is like stoic shit. Like they're into that.
Right. So what I'm like a new wizard here, right? Like, how do I cast the magic spell that I want to have Daniel having a certain and the like people listening to us
while pretending that I'm talking to him.
Right.
While navigating my own psyche, while acknowledging that we're on like the internet.
Well, and it's not even just that. It's like while speaking to someone's intellectual mind, someone's emotional mind, and someone's like physical body, like I want to do all of those at the same time as like trying to express the thing I'm trying to express. Like the alignment is quite a tricky phenomena.
Yeah. If only you had a good angle of seeing what was important.
Right. So this is me deluding myself that with the right angle or with the right words, I can express it better than with the wrong words. And the wrong words are the wrong thing and the bad thing. And we have to destroy the wrong words and like look away from them and look towards the right words, right? Like perfect. I've just like created a stupid map of my own brain, like my own psyche.
It's a map of your map.
Right. And then I'm like,
it's also a spell book at the same time.
Right. And so I'm like lying on my bed for 3 hours doing these like mental transformations, being like, what if I, and then like, what about this? And they're like, no, like, ugh. And then like, oh, how about this? Like, yeah, just
it's
trying
like a whirlpool of madness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad I don't live inside your head.
Well, funny you should say that. So one of the metaphors I was sharing on this retreat is that there is a vast internal landscape, right? Inside my head. And there's a cool little experiment we can do about this. So close your eyes, don't close your eyes. Imagine a room, right? In your head. Now imagine at the end of the room is a door to another room. So go through that door into the next room. Right? Notice like is there something on the floor, like the windows, like I don't know. At the end of the room is another door. Go through that door to another room. Right? Another room. What's in this? What?
I feel like you're trying to infect me. I'm gonna say
right.
You've got a mind virus right now, and it's trying to. It's taking you over, and now it's trying to jump to me and making me like create a labyrinth inside my mind. and then like you're gonna like have this thing, and then like I'm gonna get confused, and something's gonna happen. And then you're gonna be like, "Oh, Daniel, why did you do that to yourself?"
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Let me just shortcut this. I can say like make another room and another door and go through the next room endlessly. You don't have to, right? The point is we can do that for like 7 hours and you'll still be able to make another door in another room, right? There is the size of the imagination is that big that we like you'll forget how many rooms you've been through after like 10 minutes.
I don't know if that's true. I think like them being unique rooms or them being unique rooms. I don't know. Like there probably is a limit to that.
I mean, they can be the same room as well. Like because they'll be the same. They could be the same room in a different sequence, or like look
just stuck in a loop.
Maybe I don't know. Is there such a thing as a loop? I don't know. Maybe they're just incredibly similar rooms.
Yeah, there is. Elliot, you're stuck in a loop. Wake up!
Wake up!
Wake up to reality.
Wake up! Wake up! You're in a dream.
The virus is overtaking you, Elliot.
I've got like a little worm in there pushing buttons.
I think you saw the virus. Okay, this is what I think. This is my theory. You went to the retreat. You saw the virus, like the mimetic virus. I mean, I don't mean like physical. Right. You saw the mimetic virus. You were like, "Oh, this is cool. I should go inside and check it out." And now you're stuck inside again.
Okay.
We need to develop like mimetic vaccines. This is the thing like nobody talks about. They talk about, oh, mimetic viruses, it's so bad. Like, let's just develop some mimetic vaccines, you know? I bet that's not that hard, but it's easier. Right? When you see a cool mind virus, don't go inside it.
All right, let me just say go where I was going. Vast
Okay, so
internal.
imagine a
experience.
room.
No, you like the exercise is just kind of like a fun little, and that was invented 1,000 years ago by like Aristotle or something. But you will keep going. You will be able to keep generating a vast internal landscape of rooms. Like your psyche, your internal landscape is one of those infinites, right? So holding that as like the premise, right? And then the external world, we've got the other people, we've got everything I can see, we've got the earth, we've got the space, we've got like the galaxy keeps going to other galaxies. That one seems almost infinite as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Internal infinite, external infinite.
Well, okay.
With like the local, like meeting other people is more interesting than like a lot of
is
empty space.
Sure, physics is complicated, but
Right.
fun. Let's
Right.
say functionally infinite, at least.
Functionally infinite. Same for the internal space, functionally infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then we've got this interface that are these guys, these floppy fingers and the hands and the eyes. This is my like inwards and outwards little funnel that the vast internal landscape and the vast external landscape communicate to each other, or like information passes through. You know, I can only transmit Daniel information like out of my vast internal landscape into my external world, in theoretically into Daniel's internal world through his ears, because I'm telling him words, the vast internal landscape inside Daniel.
Dude, don't navigate like this. You're gonna make yourself crazy.
But like
and by that I mean you're gonna make me crazy.
I mean, this is an interesting thing, right? Because if I imagine there are crazy humans out there, then my psyche has the possibility of internally being crazy, because internal and external are like maps to each other. Whereas if there aren't crazy people out there, they're just misunderstood people, then like, oh, it's fine. They're just people who are misunderstood over there.
I think what you're implying is that I shouldn't use the word crazy.
You can use whatever word you like, but if they are some sort of immeasurably dangerous, then you've just created your own mimetic mind virus. Like either there exists ideas that can eat you, or that
I've created a picture of a mimetic virus.
Right. And then they're like,
I will tell you, it's based off the one I'm looking at right now. See, that's a crazy mimetic mind virus thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
The funnel. The point was there's this like little thing, this little interface that we have to squeeze our internal landscape through to express it externally. And then we have to trust that I'm gibbering at Daniel, and he's going to believe that it's not that I have a little, the thing on the inside of my internal funnel is small. It's that I had to compress it through the funnel so that it could come out. Right. So I trust Daniel to model me as a vast internal landscape and model himself as a vast internal landscape, so that we can have a vast complex experience, even though we're passing through this tiny little interface.
Right. I got a metaphysical secret I can share with you. So I don't do that because it's too hard.
Right. Overwhelming.
What I do instead is I accept this as reality. And then I don't have to model it, because it's just real, and reality will model it.
Right. When I say model it, I don't mean like every second I'm double checking if I'm perceiving Daniel as an infinite landscape, because that's exhausting. To constantly be modeling Daniel as a vast internal landscape, it would be exhausting for me. So I kind of like in my
use your words to cast the spell to make me experience the thing that feels good. That feels right. That will let me stop processing and let me just bliss out with you. Cast me a spell. I want a bliss spell.
Bliss. I mean, I said I'm a baby wizard, so I'm not so good at the bliss spell.
I will take relaxation then.
Okay, that makes it a bit easy.
What is the thing that will relax me right now?
Probably my best relaxation spell is give up.
Okay.
Like just give up. Like stop trying to that and like no.
I'll tell you though, there's a blockage because like if I give up, then I've lost the context of this conversation. I don't know what's gonna happen next. You might need that.
Right. And you need to somehow hold on to what's gonna happen next to make sure that it's good or something. You don't have to. You can be in the unknowing space.
Can I? Or are you gonna mind virus me again?
Yeah, maybe I mean, you're the one casting that spell.
What? The mind virus?
That I'm a mind virus, or that there is a mind virus.
No, you're not a mind virus, but you're inside. Like a mimetic virus, I think, is taking over you a little bit. Like you got a cold, mimetic cold.
I don't know. Maybe.
Can we start using this language for real?
Sure. That like, if I'm in it, then I don't know that I'm in it. I haven't woken up.
I think you know you're in it. No. I think you know you're in it. Right. That's what you're doing, right? When you're navigating and you're using the words to like all this stuff, like this is like the shape of this is very complex. And the shape of us is not complex. Like we're very simple, right? Like we exist.
Where we have like a moment-to-moment experience of ourselves in which we pack all of the like there's a lot of memory that I can try and pack into like who I am and my identity, and there's a lot of like future imaginings that I'm trying to pack in.
And packing a lot of stuff in.
Well, trying to, right?
Yeah, then it gets complicated. But if you kind of just let it, like if you give up, if you use that spell to give up, then you just exist.
Right.
And then that's very simple.
Right. And there's a good thing there. And also it's like it gets a bit lame after a while. Like, oh, I just exist. Okay.
Existence gets lame.
On the like the boring existence side, right? The interesting existence isn't lame. It's that like I'm just a guy who flushes the toilet, and in between the flushing of the toilet is like other things, but really my existence is a chain of flushing toilets. Like that sucks. Why would I live in that?
I hear this. Okay. I hear like you could see your life from that perspective.
Right.
You live your life flushing toilets. And okay, but can I tell you a cool story? Flushing toilets. Actually, that happened to me today. It's very interesting.
Okay.
So yeah, I go to the washroom and I have a kid and he loves to like follow me into the washroom. He's like 14 months, so I think it's still appropriate age. And he loves the toilet, but he's not allowed to touch it, right? Because I don't want him touching
dirty. Yeah,
it's a toilet. Like it's like clean toilet, but it's still a toilet, so it's dirty.
Yeah,
I don't want him touching anything, right? Nothing there. But like today, he touched the flusher, and so I let him. I like pushed his hand down so he could like push the flusher, and he like watched the toilet flush. He was like, "Wow, that's so cool." And so it was like a very like exciting. It was like a very interesting, fun experience flushing the toilet today.
Right, you did the like I'm gonna hold the hand of this monkey and teach it to flush the toilet.
Well, like he was like kind of there, but he wasn't like exactly there. And I'm like, this will be fun father-son activity to do together.
Right.
And so yeah, he flushed it, he watched the thing go, and then he like tried to flush it again, but didn't go. It was like a whole thing. Like there was like a whole it was a very like I get these like moments with him where it's a very
I call it like transcendently flushing the toilet.
Yeah. I'll put that in the YouTube. It'll attract viewers. I want to transcendently flush my toilet.
Right. Not all the time. Like sometimes I just gotta get shit done today. I don't want to transcendently flush the toilet.
Yeah. The life is like that sometimes.
But that sounds like a priceless moment as well. When training the world.
Yeah. Sometimes I get these moments, like just these magical moments with him. And it's always like these unique things that are impossible, like you can't replicate them. Because it's gotta be like it's gotta be completely new or something. It's that creative, right? It's that in between.
Do you remember this book?
No.
I was talking about it's Turn Your Life into Art. And it
right.
One of the things it talks about is so this is about creating participatory art experiences. Like, quick example, you get a giant pile of bread, and then you get all your friends and you tell them you have to go find a bird to feed this to, and like you give them each a slice, and then you get like hundreds of people and you give each person a slice of bread, and like after a while it's hard to find a bird that's hungry, and you have to like walk several blocks to find it, and so then like everyone's suddenly on this mission to find a bird that they want to feed bread. Right. And then like just like, why are we doing this? I don't know. And like some people will find a bird quick, and other people will take ages to find a bird, and some people come back for a second slice of bread, and like some people will just, but like you're committed to an experience, and like someone watching the crowd will see all of these people feeding birds and go like, what? Like, I don't know why we're doing this. Like, why are they doing it? Like, it looks like fun to be in that, but I don't know why. Like, but
you're on
it has to be, importantly, it needs to be unique as an experience, and it needs to have the possibility of like almost anything. Like you can go and try and feed a bird and it might not like bread. It might be like a seed eating bird, not a bread eating bird.
Right.
Or a bug eating bird, not a bread eating bird.
Right.
Like, oh, okay.
Right. To me, this
you can go feed your bread to a dog. Like, I don't know.
This thing you're describing, that to me is how you like, that to me is life. Like life is a series of adventures.
Right.
And for you, I guess, it's a series of flushing toilets.
Right.
For me, it's like these series of adventures, and then the in between spaces are there to like prep for the next adventure.
Yeah, kind of.
So it like goes well.
And I really like viewing life as a series of adventures. I mean, another one that's maybe nicer than the toilet one is life is a series of going to the beach. And the time that you spend in between going to the beach. And I know vast in well, like, I mean, maybe like life is a series of showers. The time in between them.
Yo, there are these, like, I don't have this so much anymore, but I definitely used to have these like almost like different persons living in my body, where it's like the shower person, and then the whatever, like the YouTube person,
right,
you know, and
the eating dinner person.
Yeah,
and like when I sit down to eat dinner, it's like a continuation of the me who sat down to dinner yesterday to eat dinner.
Yeah, it's like,
and
oh,
like,
we're here again.
Right.
And we're like, we're the ones really in charge of the body and everything.
Right. And I better, like, if I'm the guy who eats dinner infinitely throughout this lifetime, I better make sure that I'm enjoying the eating dinner bit.
Right.
I'm going to do it over and over and over again. So I really want to make sure I enjoy it every time. Otherwise,
right,
my life and my existence is torture if dinner is lame or bad or tastes terrible. Like, or maybe sometimes I want to taste a terrible dinner to remind me of all the other dinners that were not as terrible.
Yeah,
like I actually want variety in my experience
to match my self-loathing.
Right.
And then it's the transcendence, right? Like, so like the dinner person transcends themselves,
right,
and they start like reaching out to the other people.
Right, and the other dinner people.
And those people are reaching out to those people are also and like recognizing that, like, the dinner person is recognizing the other selves are also transcending and reaching out. And so like getting these connections and these it's like it becomes like a transcendent where you're transcended across time, across selves, across and then the interactions and
across vastly infinite universes inside and outside.
Right, because you know, like, to me, like, I also like bring in the parallel universes, because like I don't like it's not just connecting to the other selves, but it's connecting to the other dinner selves, because they're gonna like live in other realities that are variations.
Okay, let's take it. So there's a slice of like eating dinner, right? And then there's like a slice that goes across that slice, which is dinner being eaten, and they intersect because at eating dinner is being eaten.
Right.
And there's like
experiencer.
Right. So there's this other plane of all dinners ever being eaten, and the moment of me eating dinner today is a like instance of dinners being eaten, of which I am a participant in the universal experience of dinners being eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an expression of dinners being eaten this evening.
Yeah, that's so awe-inspiring for me. Like I always get like really nervous the first time. Like, oh, I'm at this like dinner party, am I good enough to be here?
Right. Am I playing my part well of the like on the infinite plane of eating dinners?
Yeah, like I just woke up and realized I'm at a dinner party and like also like what the hell is my past self been doing? Like how do I do, how do I like kind of like atone or like handle like the situation, like the expanding situation that's already in motion.
Right. And like, what if I'm in the bad dinner party? What if like I've like, oh no, this is the bad one, because there must be bad dinner parties on the infinite plane of dinner parties. Some of them are good and some of them aren't. Like, what if this is one of the bad ones?
That's interesting. That's like interesting. What's that? Tell me more about that. I don't really experience that one.
You want to experience the bad dinner party?
No, I don't really like I don't. I usually like when I show up some places, I don't really like I don't assume. I always this is like a bias I have that I'm trying to work through, but I always assume that like this place is like really good and I'm lucky to be here, which is obviously not always the case. I do show up to dinner parties that I'm like,
I mean, that's a great,
I shouldn't be here, I'm leaving.
That's a great magic spell, and like you should definitely keep that one and cast it often. And also, if ever it gets boring and you want to have a bad time, you can have a bad time.
But I don't want to have a bad time,
because you want to have some bad time.
Number one, I don't want to have a bad time. But number two, I don't want to future have a bad time. And number three, I don't want to like piss off everybody. Right. Like I get invited back to the dinner parties.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's this other problem. Like, if I'm too averse to the bad time, right? I'm like, oh, I don't want a bad time. Then there's actually this like this black hole of like on the infinite plane of dinner parties. Like some of them start like drawing towards the black hole of the thing that I'm avoiding, which is the bad time. And then the bad time, it starts eating more and more of the dinner parties until like one day it is going to be a bad time, because it's a repulsive force, right? So the more I push away from it, the more it like gets stronger and starts pulling more and more things in.
Yeah, I have that with like I'm afraid I'm going to make it bad,
right?
And then like sort of
and then it gets worse.
So like that prophecy, the self-fulfilling prophecy. And I always want to be a prophet, like it's like one of my things. And so like these two do not intersect well.
So yeah, one of the big elements of the retreat was magicians, or like being more magical, because it's like, particularly for me, like I'm like, oh, I want my life to be more magic. And I have a pretty awesome like life filled with adventures anyway, but like a couple more magic spells, that would be great.
Okay.
Like,
so tell me more.
Okay. Like it was the theme. One of the themes was this ongoing question of like, what are the magic spells you're casting? Like some of the people are casting like I'm not a social person, or I'm not good at knowing what's going on for other people socially. And you cast that spell and then you always feel like an outcast.
Yeah.
And, congratulations, you just spent 6 days getting deeper into your spell of feeling like an outcast. Did you get enough, or do you want to keep going? Because you can keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And for several of the participants, they were relieved to find they had had enough of that experience and they were going to cast new spells.
Mm-hmm.
But not all of our patterns are done on like there were other people with other patterns that didn't quite finish them for the retreat. But if you were casting that spell, like, okay, just notice you're casting it, keep doing it. And like, hey, if you don't want to cast it, time to start casting different spells.
Mm-hmm.
And like some things feel like spells and some things feel like facts. Like the spell of I'm not good at knowing what's going on for other people, like can also feel as factual as I'm really clumsy and I trip over things a lot.
Right.
And that one can feel just as real as I have a hard time hearing people. And that one can be just as real as when I get agitated, I go snack on food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and on the one hand, each of those can feel very real for one person, and the rest can feel fake or like not real, or like, yeah, but you don't have to go eat stuff when you get agitated, and like, yeah, but you don't have to trip over stuff, but like, yeah, but you don't have to like not understand social. Like, they are equally, like, you may think one of them is a more powerful magic spell than the others, but they are equally as powerful as each other.
Mm-hmm.
And for a certain person, one of them is the real one, and the others are like, oh yeah, I could cast that one too and pretend to be clumsy. And for someone else, they're like, oh, I could cast the food one, and clumsiness is like a fake spell. The clumsy is the real spell, and the rest of the fake spell. And it's like, oh, I'm living in a experiential reality where I'm kind of a little bit getting confused about which one's the real one and which one's the fake real one that I'm making real because I'm exerting it on my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I lost him.
I'm just I'm tripping pretty hard.
Huh. Good.
I'm in the place where spells are cast from.
Ooh. Well, you better start casting some damn good spells.
No.
No?
I've decided you have two choices in life, I think. You can either do magic or be magic. And
Okay.
I like to be magic. I mean, sometimes I still do it because I need the world to change a little bit, but
I'm not sure if you can't do both, but that's okay.
I don't think you can. Or like I think they sort of affect each other.
Yeah. It may be possible to do both, to be magic and also do magic. But it's kind of probably like in different moments.
I think you only have I think they get weakened with each other.
Well, in different moments. So if I be magic often enough that I know myself as magic, then that's cool. And then also I can do magic in other moments. And then I can do both be magic and kind of do magic. But only kind of maybe one at a time. Because I mean, you can only have one moment at a time anyway.
Yeah. I feel like for me, like I want to transition to more being magic.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I wonder what that's like. Like, cause like imagine living a life and like if you're magic, everything is magic. Like your life is magical.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like to a unicorn, everything is magical because wherever they show up, there's a unicorn there.
Right. Yeah.
So a wizard, like sometimes there's magic and sometimes there's not.
But if you are magical, of course, right, you're the unicorn.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, one major thread of this particular retreat, and they'll be different every time, was magic. And like seeing the world through a little bit more of a magical lens. And I really enjoyed that. Like, it feels like magic is something I'm moving towards in my experience, like spending more experiential phenomena time perceiving the joy of the world being magical. Like, I really enjoy magic.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, we should do magic.
We're psychotechnologists, Daniel. We've been doing magic this whole time.
Oh my god! Psychotech. Yeah.
I would love for if a moment you had actually forgotten that we were the psychotechnologists.
No, I was just we don't. Okay, the thing is, like, I feel like magic feels different. Like the different psychotechnology schools, let's say. The different psychotechnological schools.
They sort of feel like a skill, much of them. Like I'm learning a new type of kung fu or
not exactly, but they've all got different feels. So like I think we did tend to start with more of like the skill-based stuff.
like meditative skill.
Uh-huh.
The meditative
Yeah,
skill.
but then but then like a lot of like the meditative stuff is like the path. It's not a skill, it's just being. It's like different ways of being.
Right.
But it's like, we've been doing like very much like this Buddhist stuff. But we haven't really been doing magic stuff.
Yeah, my journey moving forwards may be like the next 6 to 12 months of enjoying a little bit more of the magical way.
Yeah, I'm down for this, yeah. Because I don't really know how to do magic.
Oh.
I do a little bit. Like I went to collective presencing while you were gone.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like online?
No, in person.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. John, I forgot his last name, ran it. Did a very good job. And it was good. Like it was good stuff. Like it feels, really felt the stuff. We went to a room, it was like dark, he did the vibes real well. And just like, felt the stuff. And then afterwards there was so afterwards they have like the place has like a bunch of like ritual tools, I guess. So like there's some noisemakers, there's like a bowl. I don't know if they had like someone had a bowl there, which I really want to get.
Singing bowl.
Yeah, singing bowl.
Big?
Really cool. No, it wasn't that big.
Oh.
It was small.
Yeah.
I'd love a big one, but those ones are really expensive. Just get a smaller one.
Yeah.
And and like burning, like they had like it wasn't exactly incense, but it's like sage or whatever. I don't know what it was.
Like different herbs.
Yeah.
Probably sage. Usually it's sage. They do cleansing.
There was like a wood one as well.
Senpalo?
I don't know. I don't know. The thing was labeled, which I really enjoy. Like it was all like use. It was like someone's kit almost.
Right.
And there was
Palo Santo. Got close. Palo Santo has a very strong smell. I have some here.
Okay, cool. Because I've been using, like in my personal life, after I did I don't know if we talked about this, after I did the land acknowledgements and the smudge, like the native showed me do that. I got inspired and I found like I got gifted thing. It was so funny because I got gifted like within like a week. I got gifted like four different items to use as burning.
I mean, I'm partial to eucalyptus because I'm in Australia, and some of those tea tree eucalyptus, those like native plants. So I wonder if you've got native plants there that have nice smells.
Yeah, so I've used. I can tell you what I've used. So cedar is the one that they use here a lot. So I got gifted cedar. And I dried it out and burned it. It smelled, I mean, it all smells pretty smoky, to be honest. I harvested myself some apple and like sliced that real thin and
like the fruit or like tree branch.
Yeah, apple, like so I used the leaves also, but the apple itself, I sliced them really thin and dehydrated them. It's crab apple. And they smell good. Like it smells fruity.
And you burn it?
Yeah.
Cool.
And the other one I used some maple leaves, which were okay. They're pretty smoky. And someone randomly, they gifted me marijuana as well, but like not the bud, just the stems and leaves.
Oh, okay.
So and that also like that has like a nice smell.
I recognize the smell of marijuana as like hay, like rotting hay, like nothing nice. But okay, maybe, but I know a lot of people like it.
Yeah. And it's not, it doesn't have like it's not the bud. Like the bud has a very like strong,
right.
If you get good stuff, at least it's got like this like strong like skunk smell.
Yeah. Or like skunk is a breed, right? Breed of marijuana. It's a strain.
Sure, yeah.
So like
Yeah.
one of them smells a lot like a skunk enough that it got named after it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, walking around at night and smelling that, you're like, is this a party or am I about to get sprayed?
Right. I live in a country without skunks, but yeah, I get that.
Yeah, lucky.
I mean, ritual magic is an interesting psychotech. We should bring that up maybe next episode.
Yeah, I'd love to explore that.
Like there are
I've
witches
been
and wizards. Huh?
Yeah, I've been doing tarot, which is like kind of like magic.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like a divining practice. Divination.
I use it as like a spirit summoner.
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't feel comfortable with divination because it's against the Jewish religion.
Prophesizing is
Prophecy is not a divination; those are different.
right.
Things.
Right.
If you're getting the future from God, that's okay. If you're getting it from the spirits, it's not.
But if you're getting it from God through the cards,
God, the Jewish God doesn't talk to Jews this way.
right? But wait. Like I hear what you're saying, and also the chest plate with all the rocks on it.
That's not tarot. That's something different. That's the.
What are you talking about?
Hosha Mishpat. That's the
right, but it had a bunch of crystals on it, which
it had a bunch of gems. Yeah,
which they would read to like hear from God. Thank you.
Yeah.
So don't say it's not included in our religion to read the fucking crystals.
No. I said not the tarot. Then you moved to crystals.
Okay, yeah.
Without mentioning it, moved to crystals.
Okay.
But that's like specific, like that's a specific thing. Is like
right. There's only one object that can do that. Not anyone can read crystals, and only one guy who's authorized to read the crystals, who's the high priest.
Currently, that's way beyond powers.
Totally, but
also futurely.
Like, there's a. I mean, part of the like saying only one person's allowed to do it, and there's only one object that you can read, is a practice of like making a single streamlined authority, like only one channel to God, which is useful because it can unify a people, because everyone's like, oh, I want to talk to God, I'm gonna have to go to the guy with the tool who can like has the voice. But it's also like hindering, because as society grows too big, if there's only one object that can talk to God, as it is, we have multiple streams of religion, multiple streams of like ways of talking to the spirits. But if there's only one plate, then there's just not enough time for everyone to get a channel. So we kind of need other people to believe other things or something so that they have their own access to God.
All the stuff you said is very complicated.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into that. But I will say that, like currently that doesn't exist as a medium.
Right. I think the thing is still buried in Israel in theory.
I don't know, but like also
not there with the tablets.
I don't know actually. Like I don't know any of the stuff. Like the like there's all kinds of crazy speculation on where these things are. Like the most common one is that the Vatican has it.
Oh. Okay. I thought it was like, I mean, this is a different speculation, but I thought it was sort of like buried in Jerusalem underneath the old temple.
Probably somebody thinks that.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibes that I thought. But anyway, like there's a whole pile of objects that are mysterious and valuable and rare and priceless.
I will say in common knowledge, we don't know where it is. Right. But there are lots of people that think.
I would have thought there's no agreement about where it is. There's no
like the common people who are into these things do not agree where it is. Though I do think that the Vatican is the most likely. Like if it still exists, then it's the Vatican probably is the most likely. Like that's the one. That's a conspiracy theory I subscribe to. That the Vatican's stuff.
Whatever, you're allowed to. Everyone's allowed their theories.
But it's like a whole interesting story on like how like there are people that will like trace the likelihood of it going, but it's like I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know. And also like this isn't the direction that I'm going. I don't feel like I have a like casus belly. Like I don't have like a claim to being the one true, to
Right.
connection to like the only connection to the one true God. And the Judaism I practice is not that. It's like like I'm like very into like almost like pre-temple Judaism,
Ooh, okay.
where like people are worship like are having the connection to God themselves,
Mm,
doing their own sacrifices and things like that. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm into right now.
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I mean I have crazy theories on this, but I don't know. Maybe that's a different episode.
Let's go with a different episode.
Yeah.
But I'm like, so I can say more about retreat, but we've been going.
Yeah, let's hear more gibberish. Let's go.
I mean, it's about to be like, no, that's enough. I mean, there was a bit of movement stuff like dancing. Oh, that's one we really covered and had a lot of fun with, the victim triangle.
Okay.
So, the Cartman drama triangle, which was created for stage work, and like then they realized it's a really good therapeutic tool as well. You got three corners to this triangle, being a triangle. You've got the victim, you've got the perpetrator, and you got the rescuer.
Mhm.
And so the victim, some sort of like the victim is persecuted by the perpetrator, and then hooks in a rescuer, and it's like help, and the rescuer's like, I'll save you, and then the rescuer saves the victim. And then one pattern that happens is that the perpetrator leaves because they were like, screw this, or the rescuer scares off the perpetrator, and then there's the victim and the rescuer, and then the victim becomes the victim again or finds a new way to be a victim, and then pulls in a new rescuer, decides that the rescuer was actually also a perpetrator and pulls in a new rescuer, and then like this is the victim journey of victim.
Yeah.
And so there's this triangle of this dynamic, which is super unhealthy, and obviously in the space that we had, you bring up a model like that, and people can start to see, oh, that was me wanting to rescue you from that experience. That was me feeling like a victim to your perpetration, and that was me feeling like a perpetrator because I'm sick of your bullshit. Like, so like we get moments of experiencing ourselves in different corners of the drama triangle. And then of course there's a flip to the drama triangle, which is the positive triangle, which is the victim becomes the creator, the perpetrator becomes the challenger, and the rescuer becomes the coach. And the way that works is the rescuer stops doing it for the victim, but coaches the victim to do it for themselves. And then that makes the victim into the creator. The creator, instead of feeling victimized by the perpetrator, feels challenged by the perpetrator, and then has an opportunity to receive the challenge and make a different truth. And that truth may be leaving, like, okay, but instead of making someone into the perpetrator, we recognize their challenge in our life and an invitation to rise to the challenge and create a better world. And so everyone feels better in that triangle because it's way more healthy. But yeah, so we put that triangle out into the space, and then we played with it and we enjoyed it. And so we did a dance movement with some people in each corner, and like walk around the room. We played some music, walk around the room as your corner, so as a victim, and then walk around. Those other people are walking around as perpetrators. So you walk over, you go to hide in the corner, and the perpetrators come and like prod you, and like go, it's you. And then the rescuers come and try and like jump in the middle, and like, and then the victims like run away again, and then the perpetrators follow them, and the rescuers have to get back in the middle, and like, it's like this experiential playful process on like what's it like being this thing. And then as you're doing that, you're like, oh, I do this one all the time. This is my bad habit of like feeling like a victim. This is my bad habit of like having to tell people how wrong they are because they annoy me. Well, this is my bad habit of trying to like save everyone from stuff. So like 5-10 minutes of wandering around the room doing that is kind of powerful in learning about it. And like seeing yourself in it.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
That's like multiple levels cool. Like that's like
Yeah. There's something about really doing it that helps me to everyone, it seems, to understand, like not just explaining the drama triangle, but actually acting it out, like walking around the room with it, seems to help it make sense for us more than just the intellectual model of it.
Yeah. I think part of what's going on is you're like the dinner person comes out.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like the rescuer person shows up there. So you get the person that's like, oh, I see what's happening, and the person that's I'm in this story at the same time.
Right. I can see how trapped I am by my habit of needing to rescue people.
Yeah. And now you're like, you have to coexist for a while together.
Right. And like, hopefully by the end of the little dance, you're like, maybe I could stand to be less rescuing, because it's really like I was rushing around the room rescuing people for like 10 minutes. That was exhausting, even though it was a little dance move. Just doing that, or like, I was being the victim for 10 minutes, and like I was scared of everyone, and that wasn't very fun. And then I kept being scared, and that wasn't very fun. And then I kept being scared and feeling small, and that wasn't very fun.
Spiral. Oh, fuck.
Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do less of that. Yeah. Pretty powerful little movement.
Yeah. Jeez.
Anyway, I definitely be like, even if it sounds more powerful doing it, like, you need to do it. You still have it. Like, Daniel has not done the victim dance.
I'm psyching myself up to it.
Yeah, great, good. But like, there's a difference between me talking about it and me getting you to also do the victim dance, the whole like walk around the room thing.
Yeah, I'm not doing that without a container.
Yeah, so, for sure, by all means. Even if your container is, I'm going to spend the next half hour, go for a walk, and try to see the world as one of the three in the drama triangle.
I for me, like that, like being a rescuer would be fine. Being a perpetrator, like you can't just do that without consent. Like that's unethical.
Wait, keep going. And the victim, and
the victim, for me, like that feels too vulnerable, and I don't want to like get trapped in that mentality.
Right. So this is here's where you can try it on your own. Right. So next time you go for a walk, walking around doing stuff, just let your victim come to the surface a bit, and you'll be like, what'll happen is you'll be walking down the street, and you'll be like, what would a victim be doing here? And then you'll hear a loud noise, and then you go, like you want to like flinch or something, because your victim is like, we would respond as if that loud noise was deliberately to spite me, even though it was a car driving down the street or something. Or like,
this doesn't work with where I am right now, because like I'm like very intentionally training my nervous system to not do this.
Right. I mean, there is something. Let me just sell it for a couple more seconds.
No, you're welcome to sell it, because maybe
so practicing it a little bit will help you get to know it a little better, and then obviously you're training to go against it. But when you practice it a little more, like more explicitly, more deliberately, you might be like, oh, I see what I'm doing. And then you'll have more to like work with when you're trying to step out of it. Even, I mean, it's a little exercise, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, walk down the street feeling this way.
Maybe I'll visualize it, but I don't think I'm going to act on it.
I mean, you could try that. And I'm also going to say that visualization is limited in terms of embodiment. And embodiment is much more clearly
but you're
visiting. We're talking about visiting that universe of being the victim. Like, you don't have to do it, right? I'm not going to make
no. Yeah. I'm not saying nobody should do it. I'm not saying this is bad, right? Like, I definitely think it has its uses. I think, like, to me, it's like eat this poison, and then you'll know what it's like to be poisoned.
Right, except it's not physical poison, it's subtle poison.
Yeah, it's like psychological poison.
Right. And if you're too aversive to the psychological, like, negative, then it's controlling you, because you're like, oh, I can't, like, let's take a different type of psychological poison. Like, people see me as a bad person, right? Like, I can't be seen as a bad person. And anytime someone sees me as a bad person, I have to like hurry and correct it, right? That's a pattern I can be stuck in. right? And so there's some psychological poison of like, I am a bad person, and I'm gonna go eat that, and then I'm gonna be like, ha, 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 I can treat people bad because I am a bad person. And there's a way in which that doesn't feel fun, and it feels stupid and scary. And there's a way in which I'm like, oh, yeah, feeling a bad person feels kind of empowering. And I ate the psychological poison, and I tried it on for a bit, and I'm like, huh, I guess I am sometimes a bad person. That's okay. I'd rather, like, zero bad person is not nearly as healthy as like, oh, I can go there if I need to, but I'd rather not.
I disagree. I think you should just not be a bad person. Like I hear what you're saying of like, sometimes like you're stuck in a way, and like to do it more releases it, so that you can move along that spectrum. And I definitely do hear that. And like I think for some people that's probably the right thing to do, is if you think that you're victimized, like if you think you're not a victim, or you're not, or you don't have like a grip on what's going on, then like I think, yeah, like probably doing that and noticing that you're doing that is going to give you that awareness, and then that's going to let you gain control in the other parts of your life where it does matter.
Right.
How would you
feel if you were a bad person?
But I'm not. And
if you were,
I make the choices to not be bad.
So
I would feel bad about myself. I would feel shitty about myself. I'd have to hang out with a bad person all day.
Right.
I don't want to do that. It feels bad.
So the first answer to my question, like, but I'm not a bad person, is like a wall. It's like a psychological, like, nope, I can't go there. The second answer is like, oh, I feel bad about it. Like, okay,
yeah,
that's fine. That there's bad stuff there, and you'd like, but you're not like living with that wall there. But I'm not a bad person. Okay, but how would you feel? But I'm not, like suddenly I'm angry about not being a bad person.
I'm not angry. I'm just the defense because I don't want to get infected by another mind.
Well, there's something really cool here. So in the physical world, there is physical danger. Like if you walk in front of a car, you can get hit by that car. If you step on sharp things, you can like cut yourself. If you are clumsy with hot things, you can burn yourself, right? There is a very important process of having the right amount of caution around physical danger, right?
Yeah,
that's like basic. There's no trick here. Yeah.
I'm training that in my kid.
Yeah. Right. Because the kid needs to be aware of things that are too hot or too sharp. Yeah, great.
Right. Like temperature, toilet, don't touch toilets.
Toilet dirty, yeah. Right. So that's the physical world. In the subtle world, we sort of take that same like approach to danger, and like we kind of learn this like, oh, I can't be sad. Sad's the bad thing. And like, oh, I can't be ashamed. Ashamed is the bad thing. And
you gotta figure this shit out, right? Like it's the same with the real world. Like you can decide a thing is dangerous. Like cars are dangerous, and like for my 1-year-old, like
right, and I can still drive a car around.
Huh?
Right, and I still learn to drive a car around.
Right. So for the 1-year-old, he's not allowed to go on the street ever, no matter what. Right.
Without the adult thing, yeah.
For the teenager, like that doesn't work, right? Like you need to learn how to like go in the street sometime between your 1 and you're a teenager.
Right. So there's a way in which a lot of adults are still doing these like early childhood responses to danger with emotions that like, hey, look, I don't want to be a bad person all day, but if I need to be a bad person for 3 seconds, it's not even gonna, it's gonna be like, but it's not gonna hurt me in the same way as.
But it does.
Only a little. Like, and maybe
don't be a bad person.
Maybe for the benefit of what's on the other side. Like,
no. The ends do not justify the means.
Ever?
No.
Ever?
You give me a scenario where the ends obviously justify the means, I'm gonna say that that's not true. Like that's not what's happening. That's a reframe. Right, like can you slap someone? Like can you lie to a Nazi to save a Jew's life? Right, like lying
Sure.
is bad, but saving someone's life is good. Like that's not an ends to the means. That's a like the situation is this thing, and you're doing the right thing, and you're not a bad person, and you shouldn't feel bad. And also maybe, be aware that lying could be a habit, but it's still the right thing to do. There's no bad, like you haven't done anything wrong. Right. So there's no ends and means. There's only what's going on.
I mean, I'm talking about having a healthy psychological relationship with all of the phenomena that come up in your mind, especially like the habitual ones are that we put a bucket and we call these feelings the good feelings and these feelings the bad feelings, like shame and guilt, and the bad ones, right?
I don't do that. That's immature.
That's
immature.
That's what people do.
Yeah.
You don't do it. People do it.
Feeling shame is not bad. Feeling sadness is not bad. Feeling guilt is not bad.
It sometimes feels like it's going to be a bad ride.
Oh, I didn't say it was fun.
Yeah,
it's not always fun. I will acknowledge that, but it's not bad. Like if you feel shame, that doesn't make you like you're not bad because you feel shame.
Right.
Like you feel shame because, well, like on a base level,
because if something happened,
you're alive and a human, and humans feel shame. Like this is a human thing to do. Right. And like for me, like that's a lot of how I do, where I'm like, oh, I'm experiencing these things. Like this is very human. And when other people do that, I often frame it as, oh, like you're going through this like crazy experience right now. This is a crazy human experience that humans experience sometimes. Isn't that like, well, I like to move into fun because actually like shame and guilt, like all these feelings do actually feel good. If you like orient well. But we kind of like build people up to that. Sorry, you were saying stuff.
No, this is like, I mean, there's this broad brushstroke of learning the psychological orientation to experience, right? And that's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. That's what like the physical orientation to physical danger and the subtle orientation to psychological danger have some, but not an entirely direct relationship. The mistake we make is taking that like caution around the physical and applying it to the psychological. Like we like avoid feeling depressed because that'll be bad, when actually chances are if you went towards the depression and then left it within 5 minutes, you'd have a much easier day than spending all day dwelling in avoiding depression.
Yeah, I have a perspective on this. Like when you go to like a dangerous situation, and like this scales as you get older or more experienced, like things that were like things that are dangerous to you when you're a novice. Let's say even like power tools or something, right? Like you're on a construction site, right? Like I've worked in kitchens, I've worked on construction sites. There are things when you show up for the first day, all these things are dangerous. And so there's sort of this like danger field around, and you have two choices at that point, right? Like you can like be like, oh, this is all dangerous, I'm not getting close, I'm going to leave. And then that danger field expands. So now construction sites are dangerous, or applying for construction jobs are dangerous. Or you can do the thing where you start to shrink the field.
Right. Where you go and like learn what is or isn't dangerous. Right.
Yeah. You show up there and you like calm, you watch what people are doing, you watch what's happening, and you're like, okay, that pile of rubble is going to be dangerous, but this office isn't dangerous. There's tools around. Those sharp things are dangerous. The blunt things are like kind of dangerous, but like I'll make sure not to like drop them or on my foot or anything. And then like that, the like that danger, like that, it's like the space creates, in a way, the space creates a field of fear, a field of danger. But like obviously like that exists inside you, so it's also your feelings of that. And then those things can like shrink or get more nuanced, right? Like so for me, it's like kind of like the danger of a saw gets like honed to this point where like the blade is super dangerous, like all the feeling of danger, like that is right there on like that tip of the blade while it's on. And like for me, it's like that is super dangerous, and that's like I'm not going to touch it while it's moving. I don't know how, like I don't care, like whatever you say, like I'm just like not listening anymore. Like I'm just never going to touch that.
Mhm.
And the rest of the stuff is not. And like if I'm not really paying attention to it, then the danger field kind of expands a little bit. And like, you know, you want to get that good relationship with it.
Mm.
And I think that's true of the inside, like your feelings and your experiences and the inside of what's going on with you as well, right? So you might have, like for me, like this victimization that we're talking about, there's this danger field around it because I'm not, like I lack a certain competency and experience and relationship with it. So I'm afraid that I'm going to get pulled into these, like it's a whirlpool, right? I'm going to get pulled into it. And so it used to be bigger, but now it's smaller, but it's still there. And you're saying, hey, do this thing, like navigate this field in a way where you show up and act in this way. And I'm like, I don't believe I have that competency to enter and come out, right? Like I wouldn't have the competency to drive a boat by Niagara Falls, but the boat guy, captain,
he's trained.
Probably does. And maybe he could train me.
So I do want to say that,
yeah,
like you're talking about a vortex, right? And like the vortex in the wild, you walk on the building side, it's kind of like that's what you find. I do want to say that that vortex is slightly different if you deliberately go towards and then leave than if you grab it, than if it pulls you in. So in the like do a small exercise of feeling like a victim walking down the street, because you deliberately went towards, you have more power to deliberately leave. It's still got a bit of this like vortexy phenomena of it's gonna like hold on to you a bit.
Yeah.
But you'll have a lot more control. And this applies to all like exercises in the like try out things in the psychological domain. If you lead yourself in, you have much greater capacity to be like, okay, time out, I'm done. Like that was, you know, I've triggered myself. Like approach your psychological triggers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like you're scrolling through Facebook and you see someone talk about politics. You're like, I wonder if I can like explore what it's like to be triggered. I'm gonna scroll through Facebook, look for things that trigger me. Like look for my most triggering friends, or the like conversations that are most triggering. I'm gonna deliberately look for people in the opposite side of the political spectrum saying stupid shit about my side of the political spectrum. And I'm gonna practice what it's like to be triggered. Right. And I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna find some triggers, and then I'm gonna like be annoyed for a bit, and then I'm gonna be like, okay, that's enough, time out. I'm gonna like, it's not like I was just trying to have a chat with my friends and then we hit one of my triggers. It's like, no, I was hunting for them in the world. And so my relationship to them was like, now I'm gonna stop hunting and walk away. So I have much more freedom to actually back out of it if done in the right container, right? That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. So you're saying like animals are dangerous, but like here's a gun, go hunting. Here's a gun that shoots like 1,000 meters. You can go hunt, and like here's a ghillie suit, and like there's the lion. Go hunt it. It's not as dangerous as you think it is, but it is dangerous just to wander around.
Right, near the lions.
What?
It's dangerous to wander around near the lions.
Yeah, but like doing it in this way makes it less dangerous.
Right, because and hopefully if you're in a container, if someone else is with you, you can like be like, time out, can you help me cool off? Which is obviously the walking down the street one doesn't have that. But
actually, you know what? Actually,
you could do it.
That just triggered a thing for me.
Yeah.
Just before we got on, I was just chatting with John, who did the thing, and we're talking about putting together a like a psychotech group, and that could be one of the psychotechs that we do.
Yeah.
And then I would have like a hunting party with me.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, these are really cool things. I'm gonna call time out. I've had enough time on Psychotech.
Okay.
Let's chill out.
Okay.
It's been
boundaries.
It's been like an hour 40. If anyone listens to this whole length, I'll be super impressed because
this was a good one. We had a nice flow.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
No boring bits.
I feel good about this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah.